Welcome! In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint a really cute, fancy little magpie. This model was a freebie from the Be a Crow RPG at Beachhead last year. However, you can still pick up the STL on Critical Kit. The link will be in the description. The saying goes, 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for a girl, 4 for a boy, 5 for silver, 6 for gold, and 7 for a secret never to be told. Now, I've always been a bit superstitious, and in usual circumstances I would panic if I saw a single magpie, and I would frantically scan around hoping to find a friend for joy. I think I called it off my sister. However, over the last 6 months, I have unfortunately been experiencing a lot of sorrow in my life with the loss of 2 major family members, and ultimately, grief is something we all have to go through and shouldn't shy away from. And in the last month or so, whenever I've seen a lone magpie, and I've seen quite a few lately too, I don't know if that's a coincidence or not, but anyway, I can acknowledge that it is a difficult time and a sorrowful time, and that it's okay not to be okay. So to start, I used a scalpel to gently scrape any uneven surfaces off, and I used a file to smooth the edges. Any dust it created could be flicked away with a clean, fluffy brush. In order to make the painting process easier, I temporarily pinned the model to a cork handle, and I made a hole with my pen drill under the tree so that there was no risk of it accidentally going up through the base because the base was quite thin. And to make the pin, I unbent a paperclip and cut the edges off with some cutters, and then I tested the fit. This could then be superglued in place and inserted into the cork. Once that was done, it was ready to paint. So I primed the model with black surface primer through my airbrush. And pro tip, when using an airbrush, the paint can frequently dry on the tip, causing clogs and sputtering and bubbles, and it's just a whole mess. So to prevent this from happening, I always keep the needle cap removed so you can see the needle, and then you can see when it gets clogged up. And then you can just gently wipe off any dried paint when you see it with a damp cotton bud with just water. Once primed, I gently went up the base of the tail and around the sides with Midnight Purple. And just above that, I used Deep Sea Blue, trying to create a gradient. In the center of the tail, I used some black green, and I used a few different reference images to take inspiration from. And it appeared that the tails go from black to purple to green and then blue. And their feathers kind of reacted with the light, which creates this color shifting effect that I was attempting to recreate. Moving up towards the sides of the wings and the base of the tail, I used some Ahriman blue. It was quite a bright blue, so I had to soften it down with a little bit of black green again. And then I did some areas underneath that with the Midnight Purple again. It needed a bit of back and forth to kind of get it right. But once I was happy with the airbrushing, I was then able to begin hand painting. I started making lines with Macragge blue on top of where I just airbrushed. And then I mixed in a little bit of Ahriman blue and Macragge blue together. I then made some more marks on top, making a conscious effort to leave gaps so that the airbrushed part could be showing through underneath. So the paint needed to be slightly thinner than normal. Next, I mixed silver grey and light grey together, and I carefully marked out the areas that are white, just paying close attention to the reference images, and made sure that I was getting the placement right. Some areas I obviously did go over too much, so I just fixed it up with some black. To extend the blue, I did some streaks with Macragge blue. I could then go back over with silver grey and light grey to retouch the white areas. It took a couple of thin coats. Obviously, painting a very pale colour over a very dark colour is going to need a few coats. I also then did some light streaks towards the legs and underneath. And to try and create like the illusion of like feathers or texture, I started making some small streaks of silver grey all over the white areas. And then I did some streaks on top of that with pure white, just making sure to leave some gaps so that the original base colour can show through, so it's not all covered. And then I also touched up the legs and sides with black to make the lines thinner, and then blend them together a bit more, as well as on the base of the tail. Some touching up around the sides with silver grey and light grey was needed. But once happy, I could then use some German grey to add some streaks along the black areas, just like we did with the white bit. We're starting to build up some feathery texture on the black bits. So on top of that, I did some streaks with London grey. And then I base coated the beak with German grey. For a highlight on top of the beak, I used some London grey on top in a V shape. For the eyes, I highlighted the left eye with a tiny dot of white and then filled in the monocle. So once covered, I went over the monocle with Fenrisian grey. It's like a very light blue. And then I went over with black on top to kind of refill in the eye on that bit, leaving the bottom right hand corner free, so I could then do a highlight on top of there, as well as a tiny speck in the top left corner, just like I did on the other eye for a highlight. For his collar, I base coated this with light grey and highlighted the edges with silver grey, as well as white on the top. I then base coated the hat with dark rust. I also used a mix of black and dark rust to base coat the tree. And then to add a lighter gradient to the hat, I airbrushed some flat brown along the sides and the top. And then I did some edge highlights with red leather and then softened them down slightly with flat brown because it was quite bright. Then washed it all down with Macragge's Earthshade. For the band around the base of the hat, I base coated this with a mix of black and dark rust. I then highlighted the band edges and top of the hat with burnt umber. For the bow tie, I decided that green would balance nicely between the brown and the blue. So I base coated that with black green. And then I highlighted it with sick green. I did mess it up slightly on one of the sides, so I needed to go a little bit back and forth with black green and sick green, but eventually I made it look nice. To make the tree look a bit more like bark, I attempted to make some squiggly lines with flat brown, as well as red leather and cork brown. I wasn't following a pattern, I was just mostly making it up as I went along. And then I washed it down with Macragge's Earthshade. So once I was happy with the painting, I went ahead and took the model off the cork and removed the pins with pliers. And then once removed, I was then able to superglue it to a 25mm base. The base of the original model and the 25mm base, there was a bit of a kind of bump where they didn't quite match up. So to kind of merge the base and model together, I mixed up some texture paste with gypsum plaster powder and water, and then I could gently apply the paste with a wooden stick, making sure to wipe the sides down to prevent it going lumpy, and then I left that to dry overnight. The next morning, once it was all solid, I painted that up with dark rust and applied a small grass tuft with superglue next to the feet. And then I went over the whole base with Macragge's Earthshade. Once that was dry, I then dry brushed on top of the base with flat brown and red leather and cork brown, making sure to hit the edges of the tuft as well. I then painted the rim of the base with a mix of dark rust and black. And afterwards, the final step was to airbrush a matte varnish to lock everything in and touch up the eyes with a gloss varnish. And that was the model complete. If you'd like to be one of the first people to see my next guide, do check out my Patreon, where you get exclusive early access to all new video guides as a thank you for supporting me. And if you know someone who's just getting started with mini painting, check out my tutorial packs on my website. That gives you all the materials you need to get started, in addition to an exclusive video and PDF guide to follow along to. And you can also find the model in this video for sale on my website. I hope you enjoyed this guide, and don't forget to check out my other videos for more miniature painting content.